The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the gray October sky as Joseph Harlan stepped out of the cab, his polished shoes sinking into a puddle that mirrored the storm clouds above. His hand trembled just once on the door handle of the waterfront pavilion, where laughter and string quartet notes spilled out like forbidden confessions. But it was the nameplate pinned to his lapel, etched in elegant script with letters that had once preached fire and brimstone, that made the first guest gasp, her champagne flute slipping from numb fingers to shatter on the marble floor. Joseph had buried that name years ago, or so he thought, in the dusty archives of a Texas megachurch where he once thundered against the very love his son now celebrated. Alex's wedding to Ryan was meant to be a quiet affair, a reclamation of joy in this damp Pacific Northwest haven, far from the Bible Belt's unyielding grip. Yet here stood Joseph, uninvited ghost of old crusades, his presence a live wire sparking through the crowd of young professionals, queer activists, and wide-eyed family friends who recognized the moniker from faded headlines. Reverend Joseph Harlan, architect of Proposition Faith, the ballot measure that had nearly outlawed same-sex unions in 3 red states a decade prior. He scanned the room, heart pounding like a bass drum in an indie rock set, searching for Alex amid the fairy lights and fern-draped arches. His son, tall and lean with that mop of chestnut curls inherited from Joseph's late wife, stood at the altar in a slim-fit tuxedo, Ryan beside him in a matching ensemble, their hands intertwined like roots breaking through concrete. Joseph's throat tightened. This was the boy he'd raised on football fields and Sunday sermons, the one who'd come out at 16 with a voice steadier than Joseph's own sermons. Back then, in their Amarillo ranch house, Joseph had frozen, Bible in hand, words of damnation dying on his lips as Alex's eyes, those same hazel mirrors, pleaded for grace he couldn't yet give. "Dad," Alex had whispered that night, the word a lifeline tossed into churning waters. Joseph had turned away, not in rage, but in the terror of a man whose worldview cracked like parched earth under summer sun. He'd sent Alex to a reparative therapy camp that summer, a decision that haunted him like a recurring nightmare, the kind where you wake sweating but can't shake the echoes. Alex emerged quieter, but unbroken, packing for Seattle the day he turned 18, leaving Joseph with a single note. "I love you enough to let you find your way." Now, 10 years later, Seattle had sculpted Alex into a graphic designer for a queer-owned tech startup, his life a vibrant mosaic of coffee roasts, pride floats, and midnight sketches. Ryan, with his easy grin and barista's charm, had entered the picture 3 years ago at a Capitol Hill poetry slam. Their first date a rainy walk along Lake Union where Ryan confessed his own scars from a foster care shuffle. Joseph had met Ryan once, awkwardly, over Zoom during the pandemic, when masks hid faces but not the warmth in Ryan's voice as he called Joseph sir with genuine respect. That call had been Alex's olive branch, a video feed flickering with forgiveness Joseph didn't deserve. As Joseph wove through the guests, murmurs rippled like wind through evergreens. A cluster of Alex's friends, tattooed arms linked, pronouns pinned to dresses, halted their chatter, eyes narrowing on his nameplate. "Is that? No way," one muttered. A young woman with blue-streaked hair pulling out her phone to Google furiously. Joseph felt the heat rise in his neck, the old preacher's armor itching under his suit. He'd come anyway, driving 16 hours from a quiet Montana cabin where he'd retreated after the church scandal 5 years back. The one that exposed his hypocrisy when a leaked email showed him questioning his own inclinations after a late-night confession from a parishioner. That email had been his undoing. "Reverend Harlan questions faith's foundations," the headline screamed, painting him as a closeted hypocrite rather than the fractured soul he was. The congregation splintered. His wife, bless her steady heart, stood by him until cancer claimed her 2 years later. Her final words a murmur of, "Love is the only sermon that matters, Joe." He'd sold the ranch, vanished to big sky country, tending bees and reading Rilke by lamplight, piecing together a man from the shards of the one he'd buried. Alex spotted him then, across the pavilion's polished oak floors, and time folded like an accordion. His son's face lit, then shadowed, a storm passing over clear skies. Ryan leaned in, whispering something that drew a nod, and they approached, the quartet shifting to a softer rendition of "At Last." "Dad," Alex said, voice thick as Puget Sound fog. You made it. Joseph swallowed, extending a hand that Ryan clasped firmly. No hesitation. Wouldn't miss it, son. The words tasted like redemption, bitter and sweet. But the guests hovered, a semicircle of wary eyes, and Joseph's nameplate gleamed under the chandeliers like an accusation. The ceremony unfolded in a haze of vows that pierced Joseph's chest. Alex spoke first, his voice steady. Ryan, you saw me when I was invisible, loved me when I doubted mirrors. In a world that tried to straight-edge my soul, you curved me back to truth. Ryan's response drew laughs and sniffles. Alex, you're my favorite plot twist. The one where the hero gets the guy and they build a life from coffee stains and late-night laughs. Joseph's eyes burned as rings exchanged, simple platinum bands catching the light. When the officiant, a non-binary elder from Alex's community center, pronounced them wed, the applause thundered, but Joseph's clap echoed hollow. He rose for the recessional, intending to slip out amid the chaos, but Alex caught his arm. Stay, please. Dinner was served under a tent strung with Edison bulbs, tables laden with Dungeness crab, heirloom salads, and lavender-infused cakes. Joseph sat at the family table, isolated by invisible walls. His sister, Marlene from Portland, squeezed his knee under the tablecloth. Proud of you for showing up, Joe. Takes guts. But guts curdled when a guest approached, a silver-haired man in his 60s, face etched with old battles. Reverend Harlan? Or should I say, the man who funded those ads in 15. My husband lost his job after your family values tour hit our town. The words landed like fists, polite but bruising. Joseph nodded, meeting the gaze. I was wrong, deeply, and I'm sorry. The man paused, then extended a hand. Eli, an apology accepted if it's real. It was the first crack in the ice, but ripples spread. Whispers turned to questions, phones discreetly angled. By the time toasts began, Joseph's nameplate felt like a scarlet letter, yet he stood when called, glass raised. To Alex and Ryan, he began, voice gravelly from disuse. I raised you on stories of straight paths and narrow gates, son. But you've shown me rivers bend, mountains move. I'm proud, God, so proud, of the man you've become, the love you've claimed. May your life be as fierce and free as the city under rain. Cheers erupted, tentative at first, then genuine, and for a moment, Joseph breathed. Dancing followed, under stars peeking through cloud breaks. Alex pulled him onto the floor for an awkward sway to Wonderwall. Their heights matched, curls brushing Joseph's forehead. I didn't think you'd come, Alex admitted, breath warm. After everything. I almost didn't, Joseph confessed. But your ma. She'd have skinned me alive. Laughter bubbled. Fragile bridge. Ryan joined, sandwiching Joseph in a three-way hug that smelled of cologne and possibility. Yet as night deepened, shadows lengthened. A tipsy guest cornered Joseph by the bar, slurring, How's it feel, Rev? Watching what you hated bloom. The words stung, reopening veins. Joseph excused himself to the balcony, rain misting his face, the sound's dark waters churning below. Was this pride or penance? The nameplate weighed like lead. Inside, Alex and Ryan cut the cake, foam of Puget froth on their lips, oblivious to the undercurrent. Joseph watched, heart swelling then splintering. He'd come as proud dad, but the plate shook them. Shook him most. Redemption wasn't a speech. It was this. Standing in the storm, learning to dance. The morning after dawned with the kind of relentless Seattle drizzle that seeped into bones, turning the waterfront venue into a watercolor blur. Joseph woke in a boutique hotel room overlooking Elliott Bay, sheets tangled like his thoughts, the nameplate discarded on the nightstand like a shed skin. His phone buzzed, 6 missed calls from Marlene, a text from Alex. Brunch? 11 a.m. Come as you are. He dressed in chinos and a flannel shirt, Montana casual clashing with urban polish, and cabbed to a Capitol Hill bistro where ivy climbed brick walls and rainbow flags fluttered lazily. Alex and Ryan were already there, nursing lattes at a corner booth. their wedding bands glinting like new vows. "Dad," Alex said, sliding over a menu. "You okay? Last night was intense." Joseph managed a nod, ordering black coffee strong enough to anchor him. "It was. Folks have long memories." Ryan leaned forward, eyes kind but probing. "We knew you'd draw stares, but you stayed. That means something." Conversation meandered like the cafe's indie playlist, stories of Ryan's latest barista art, a latte foam pride flag, Alex's pitch for a queer-inclusive app at work. Joseph listened, inserting nods, but inside, fault lines shifted. Back in Texas, brunch had meant biscuits and Bible study, not bottomless mimosas and debates on non-binary bathrooms. How had his son built this world without him? After they walked Pike Place, market bustle a bomb. Fishmongers hurled salmon arcs, flower stalls burst in riotous color, and street musicians strummed covers of Hozier. Alex linked arms with Ryan, then looped Joseph's in, a chain of three navigating the crowd. At the original Starbucks, they queued for overpriced brews, Joseph fumbling his order, grande no foam, earning a chuckle from the barista. But the idol fractured at a newsstand, headlines screaming about a Supreme Court case on conversion therapy bans. Joseph's photo from the old days leered from a sidebar, captioned, "Former foe turns friend?" Alex stiffened, releasing his arm. "They dug that up already?" Joseph's stomach nodded. "Son, It's fine." Alex cut in, too quick. "Just, timing sucks." Ryan mediated with a squeeze to Alex's hand, but the spark dimmed. They parted with hugs that lingered too long, promises of dinner soon. Alone in his room, Joseph paced, rain pattering like accusations. He hadn't told Alex everything. The real reason for his Montana exile wasn't just the scandal. It was the affair. Fleeting, forbidden, with Daniel, the church youth director, a man whose touch in the vestry shadows had unraveled Joseph's sermons like cheap yarn. Daniel, with his poet's soul and quiet faith, had confessed first, over bourbon in Joseph's study. What started as counsel twisted into nights of whispered doubts, bodies colliding in the rectory guest room while Joseph's wife slept upstairs, oblivious. It ended when Daniel transferred parishes, leaving a note. "You can't preach what you won't live, Joe." The guilt had festered, fueling Joseph's anti-gay crusades as overcompensation, a bulwark against his own fractured desires. When the email leaked, Joseph's musing to a confidant about wrestling the angel in the dark. It exposed not a full outing, but enough to topple him. He'd fled to Montana, vowing celibacy, tending hives as penance, bees hum a hymn to lost grace. Now Alex's wedding stirred the hive. That night, Joseph met Marlene at a dive bar in Fremont, neon trolls guarding the door. Over IPAs, she probed. "You look like hell, brother." "Spiel." He did, haltingly. The affair, the self-loathing, the way Alex's coming out had mirrored his own buried truth. Marlene, ever the pragmatist with her tattooed forearms and therapist's ear, listened without judgment. "Joe, you're not the villain in this script. You're the dad showing up late to the party. But secrets, they poison the cake." Back at the hotel, Joseph drafted a letter to Alex, words spilling like rain. "I came to your wedding not just as father, but as a man learning love's wilder shapes. There's more I need to say." He deleted it twice before hitting send via email. Dawn found him sleepless, the city awakening to fairy horns and espresso machines. Brunch the next day was at Ryan's family's lakeside home in Bellevue, a sprawling modern ranch with views of the Cascades shrouded in mist. Ryan's parents, Carla and Theo, retired teachers who'd adopted him at 12, welcomed Joseph with bear hugs and quiches. "Any friend of our boys is family," Carla declared, her silver braids swinging as she poured mimosas. The table brimmed with stories. Theo's coming-out tale in the 80s, a San Francisco leather bar raid, Carla's straight ally march in the AIDS crisis. Joseph shared snippets of Texas, barbecues under mesquite skies, his wife's peach cobbler recipe, skirting shadows. Alex watched him, eyes searching, the unsent tension from the market lingering. Afternoon brought kayaks on Lake Washington, oars dipping in sync. Joseph paired with Ryan, their boat cutting wakes. Alex worries you regret coming, Ryan ventured, paddle pausing. The stares, the questions. Joseph dipped his or water beating like tears. Regret? Never. But I carry baggage heavier than this lake. He paused, then, I hurt people, Ryan. Including him. Ryan nodded, no pity, just understanding. We all do. Difference is, you're here paddling back. Evening barbecues crackled with salmon on cedar planks, laughter echoing off firs. But as stars pricked the sky, a call came. Marlene, voice tight. Joe, check the news. Your past just went viral. He stepped inside, phone trembling. A blog post, ex-gay basher crashes son's wedding. Hypocrite or hero? With grainy photos from the pavilion, his nameplate front and center, comments flooded. Predator in sheep's clothing. Good on the sun for forgiving. Joseph's chest caved. He'd shaken them, all right, shaken loose the vipers. Alex found him on the deck, beer in hand. Dad, talk to me. The words tumbled then, raw as open wounds. The affair, the hypocrisy, the self-hate that birthed his crusades. Alex listened, face a mask-cracking shock, then sorrow. You let me go to that camp, knowing? I was scared, Joseph whispered. Of you, of me. Silence stretched, then Alex's hand on his shoulder, heavy with grace. We're both scared, but this, us, it's a start. They stood there, father and son, under indifferent stars, the lake lapping like a lullaby. Redemption's path wound jagged, but for the first time, Joseph glimpsed its bend. Weeks blurred into a tentative rhythm after the wedding, Joseph lingering in Seattle on the pretext of house hunting. Though his Montana cabin called like an old habit. He crashed on Marlene's couch in Ballard, her quirky bungalow stuffed with mid-century moderns and cat hair, the sound salt air seeping through cracked windows. Mornings meant walks along golden gardens, mist-shrouded beaches where freighters ghosted by, their horns a melancholic bass to his churning thoughts. Alex invited him to a gallery opening in Pioneer Square, Ryan's photography exhibit. Black and white portraits of queer elders, faces etched with survival's poetry. Joseph arrived early, suit traded for jeans and a Henley, nameplate long discarded but its echo in every sidelong glance. The space hummed. Velvet ropes, cheese platters, 20-somethings in ironic teas debating Foucault over Chardonnay. Ryan greeted him with a clap on the back. Glad you're here, Joe. Means the world. His shots hung stark. A drag queen in faded sequins, eyes defiant. A leather daddy with laugh lines like road maps. Joseph lingered before one. A mustached man in his 40s, gaze averted, captioned after Stonewall before silence. It mirrored his own hidden fractures. Alex sidled up, beer foam on his lip. Ryan's magic, right? Captures souls. They wandered, conversation dipping into shallows. Work gripes, mariners' prospects. But undercurrents pulled. Dad, that email you sent. I read it 10 times. Joseph's pulse quickened. And it's a lot, but thank you for trusting me with it. Alex's smile was tentative, a bridge half-built. The night peaked with toasts. Ryan dedicating the show to those who love fierce, against the tide. Applause swelled, but as guests milled, a confrontation brewed. A wiry activist in a keffiyeh cornered Joseph near the coat check. Harlan, right? Your therapy camps ruined my brother. Suicidal at 19 because of scum like you. The room hushed incrementally, eyes swiveling. Joseph's mouth dried, old defenses rising like bile. I know, and I've spent years atoning. Atoning? The man spat, close enough for whiskey breath. By photo-opping your son's wedding? Spare us. Alex materialized, hand on the man's arm. Hey, ease up. This is my dad. But the damage rippled, guests whispering anew. Ryan diffused with charm, steering the agitator away, but the gallery's warmth soured. Outside, rain slicked cobblestones, neon reflecting in puddles like fractured mirrors. Father, son, and son-in-law huddled under an awning, steam rising from takeout foe. That wasn't fair, Alex said, slurping noodles. But it's real. People hurt. Joseph nodded, broth burning his tongue. I deserve it. More than you know. He confessed then, deeper layers. Daniel's laugh like summer thunder. The guilt that choked his prayers. How Alex's camp was projection's cruelest cut. Ryan listened too, his silence a gift. You're bi then? Ryan asked gently, no judgment. Joseph exhaled. Labels chafe. But yeah, fluid as this rain. Alex's eyes glistened. Explains the sermons. The fire. Not accusation, understanding. They parted with plans for therapy, a queer-affirming group in Belltown. Back on Marlene's couch, Joseph dreamed of Texas plains, Daniel's ghost riding shotgun in a pickup, radio crooning Springsteen. Woke to coffee and resolve. The viral storm hit midweek, a podcaster amplifying the gallery dust-up. Reverend Regret. From pulpit poison to pride parade, interviews poured in, forgiveness advocates, survivor testimonies. Joseph declined most, but accepted one with a local NPR affiliate, voice quavering into a mic in a dim studio overlooking the Space Needle. I was a fraud, he told the host. A soft-spoken lesbian named Kira preached certainty while drowning in doubt. My son saved me, not by absolution, but by living true. The piece aired Friday, lines jammed. Calls from old parishioners. We knew, Joe. Come home. Strangers. Your story gave me courage. Alex texted. Heard it. Proud. 2 words, a dam breaking. Weekend brought a road trip, Joseph, Alex, Ryan, to Olympic National Park, winding roads through fern-choked forests. They hiked Hurricane Ridge, boots crunching gravel, peaks piercing clouds. At a vista, eagles wheeling below, Alex turned. Dad, I forgive you. Fully. But more, I love you. The whole mess. Joseph's knees buckled. Not from altitude, but release. Hugs in the wind, raw and real. Yet betrayal loomed, unbidden. Back in Seattle, Joseph's inbox held a ghost. Daniel, emailing from Austin. Saw the piece. Still wrestling angels? Dinner. Heart raced, temptation's old hook. He showed Alex, seeking anchor. What do I do? Alex's gaze steadied. You choose. Or the past. Joseph deleted the thread, blocking the number. Us. Crisis crested that night at a vigil for a trans teen's suicide. Alex's community center hosting. Candles flickered in the chapel-like hall. Faces diverse. Black, Latinx, Asian, white, young, old, survivors all. Joseph attended uninvited, slipping into a back pew. Speakers shared grief, rage, hope. When a mother recounted her conversion therapy regret, eyes on Joseph, he rose, voice steady. I'm Joseph Harlan. I built those walls. Teardown starts with me. Applause tentative, then thunderous. A young man approached after, tear-streaked. Thank you for seeing us. Healing's thread wove tighter, but Joseph's journey jagged on, one step, one storm at a time. Autumn deepened in Seattle, leaves turning the university district into a bonfire palette. But Joseph's internal season lingered in thaw. He rented a studio apartment in Queen and high-rise views of the Olympics, a daily reminder of ridges climbed. Days filled with odd jobs, freelance editing for a progressive mag, beekeeping workshops at community gardens, nights with books on queer theology, pages dog-eared like old love letters. Alex and Ryan's honeymoon glow faded into newlywed domesticity. A cozy Fremont walk-up with exposed beams and herb windowsills. Dinners became ritual, Sundays at their place. Joseph's contribution, a slow-cooked brisket nodding to Texas roots, paired with Ryan's kale salads. Conversation flowed freer now, plumbing depths. Alex's camp nightmares, flashes of isolation. Ryan's foster scars, Christmases in group homes. One evening, over Pinot Noir, Alex broached the unbroached. Dad, you've shared your side. But Ma, what did she know? Joseph swirled his glass, Burgundy's legs like hesitant confessions. More than I gave her credit. Late nights, my moods. She asked once after Daniel left. Is it the boy or the mirror, Joe? I shut down. She loved anyway. Ryan refilled glasses. Sounds like her. Steady. Silence settled, comfortable as fog. Then Alex. Therapy's helping. Group 2. You should join. Joseph had dipped a toe. Solo sessions with a grizzled counselor named Walt. Ex-Marine turned ally. Office smelling of pipe tobacco and empathy. Baggage like yours, Walt drawled. Takes a village to unpack. Group loomed larger. 12 queer men, ages 20 to 70. Circle of folding chairs in a church basement repurposed for grace. He went that Tuesday, palms slick as he entered the low-lit room, coffee urn bubbling like nerves. Facilitator, a bearish therapist named Micah, welcomed him with a nod. Stories circled. A twink's grinder ghosting grief. A silver fox's divorce dust up. When Joseph's turn came, words stuck like burrs. Expreacher. Hurt my son. Hurt myself. Breaths held. Then a hand on his knee from a quiet engineer named Theo. Ryan's dad, of all ironies, moonlighting as mentor. Start small, friend. He did. Snippets of the affair, pulpit poison. No judgment reigned, only nods. Me too's. Theo pulled him aside after. Knew you'd show. Ryan's been singing your praises. Brotherhood budded. Tentative coffees post-meet. Dissecting Breen Brown over scones. Joseph found mirrors, not in shame but shared light. But conflict brewed distant. Texas winds carrying it north. A letter arrived, forwarded from Montana. From Ezekiel, Joseph's old deacon, now church head. Brother, return. Redeem. We've softened, affirming sermons now. Your voice could bridge. Temptation tugged, old ties like kudzu. He flew south, Amarillo's flat expanse jarring after Seattle's folds. The megachurch sprawled, cross neon against sunset, but inside, echoes hollowed. Ezekiel greeted with backslaps, flock thinner, faces familiar ghosts. Sermon Sunday, guest slot, theme, prodigal paths. Joseph mounted the pulpit, heart hammering, scanning pews for accusations. Words poured, his exile, Alex's wedding, the nameplates quake. I attended as proud dad, but shook them with my past. Grace isn't erasure, it's embrace. Congregation stirred, amens mixed with murmurs. A young woman rose, tearful. My brother's gay, scared to come home. Applause swelled, but Ezekiel pulled him backstage. Powerful, Joe, but stay. Let us. Doubt nod. He called Alex from a motel, voice tinny over miles. They want me back. Reformer. Pause stretched. And you? I don't know. Feels like chains. Then break 'em. We're your home now. Return flight turbulence mirrored turmoil. Clouds boiling like regrets. Landing in Seattle-Tacoma. Rain welcomed. Marlene picking him up in her Subaru. Radio blasting Fleetwood Mac. Texas blues, huh? Worse. Familiar poison. He confessed the offer over diner pie. Part of me craves redemption there. Absolution from the source. She forked crust. Absolution's internal, dummy. Don't trade new family for old ghosts. Crisis peaked midweek. Daniel surfaced again. This time a Seattle coffee shop, chance meet. Eyes crinkling over cappuccinos. Fate, Joe? Or flight paths? Pulse betrayed him, old fire flickering. They talked hours, lost years. Daniel's civil union, Joseph's thaw. Touch accidental, then not. Fingers brushing over saucers, spark to tinder. Guilt crashed post-meet, Joseph confessing to Walt. Slipped. Toward the edge. Walt leaned back. Slipping's human. Falling's choice. What's the pull? Familiar het. Easy lies. Then choose truth. Call Alex. He did, voice cracking over speakerphone. Ryan's gasp audible. Daniel. Met him. Nothing happened, but could. Silence, then Alex. Dad. You're enough. As you. Ryan added. Come over. We're grilling. That night, under string lights in their yard, beers sweating. Joseph bared it all, Daniel's allure, the pulpit's lie, his bisexuality's quiet roar. Hugs followed. Fierce. We got you, Ryan said. Healing deepened, Joseph's group sharing the relapse. Theo clapped his shoulder. Progress, not perfection. By month's end, he declined Ezekiel's call, email polite. My bridge is here. With my son. Winter hinted. First frost etching windows. Joseph adopted a rescue mutt, naming him Gideon, angel wrestler. Walks along the locks, salmon leaping, mirrored his leaps. Toward wholeness, one paw print at a time. Winter clamped Seattle in its gray fist, holiday lights twinkling defiant against the gloom. But Joseph's world brightened incrementally, colors seeping back like dawn through evergreens. Christmas approached, first without his wife, but with invitation. Alex and Ryan's queer Yuletide at the walk-up, potluck with Theo and Carla, Marlene's brood. He shopped Fremont's indie stores, leather-bound journals for Alex, a vintage camera lens for Ryan, gifts wrapped in butcher paper, ties to his mending heart. Eve brought snow, rare flakes dusting the city like confetti from heaven's quiet party. Joseph arrived early, arms laden, mutt Gideon kenneled for the night. The apartment glowed, tree decked in rainbow ornaments, menorah candles flickering beside stockings. Hugs enveloped, Carla's flour-dusted embrace after cookie baking, Theo's wink over spiked eggnog. Dinner sprawled, vegan lax, prime rib, Ryan's experimental cranberry gin cocktails. Laughter layered, stories stacking like gifts. Alex's childhood Santa doubts, Joseph's Texas tales of mesquite yules with starlit cattle drives. But under tinsel, depth stirred. Post-feast, gathered round the tree, Alex pulled a box. Small, velvet. For you, Dad. From both of us. Inside, a silver cuff engraved, Love wins, J and A and R. Joseph's throat closed, metal cool against skin. Fits, he rasped, buckling it on. His gift, letters, handwritten. To Alex, forgive my blindness, your light guides. To Ryan, thank you for loving my son, and me, by extension. Tears traced cheeks, tree lights haloing faces. Midnight mass followed, not cathedral but a queer choir's carol concert in a converted warehouse. Voices soaring, "O Holy Night" with gospel fire. Joseph stood between Alex and Ryan, harmonies weaving his fractures whole. New Year dawned crisp, resolutions whispered over black-eyed peas. Ryan's southern nod. Joseph's, live authentic, no more masks. Group echoed it. Micah toasting to uncloseting souls. But betrayal's shadow lengthened, unbidden from the past. January thawed secrets. A package arrived, unmarked, containing old church ledgers. Ezekiel's doing, post-decline. Pages yellowed, but ink fresh. Joseph's name beside discretionary funds, to anti-gay pacts, some's damning. Tucked note, truth hurts, prodigal. Expose or be exposed. Panic surged, Joseph's hands shaking as he scanned. Thousands funneled, signatures his. The viral embers could blaze inferno. He drove to Alex's, bursting in mid-lunch, ledgers spilling across the table. Son. It's bad. Explanation tumbled. Old sins quantified. Ezekiel's revenge for rejection. Alex paled, Ryan's fork clattering. Dad, we knew the Crusades. But this? Proof. I didn't hide it to hurt you, Joseph pleaded. Feared it'd taint your world. Ryan scrolled news, face grim. It's already out. Anonymous drop to a blogger. Harlan's hidden hate money. Headlines erupted by evening. National podcasts, Twitter storms, wait, X feeds ablaze. Joseph's phone rang relentless. Reporters, old foes gloating. Group chat lit. Theo, breathe, Joe. We're here. But Alex's silence deafened. Crisis engulfed. Joseph holing up in Queen and, blinds drawn, Gideon whining at his feet. Voicemails piled. Marlene's fury at Ezekiel, Walt's face it head-on. Daniel texted, saw the news. Call if you need. He didn't. Instead, paced to the window, city lights blurring through tears. Betrayal twofold. His past's claw, his fear's cage. Dawn found resolve. Oppressor, self-convened at a park bench overlooking the sound. Rain holding off like mercy. Microphone trembling. He spoke to a handful of locals, phones recording, "These ledgers are mine. Shameful choices from a man lost in fear. I funneled hate. Now I fund healing. Check my new nonprofit, Harlan Bridges. Scholarships for queer youth. Details spilled. Montana savings seeded. First grants to Alex's center." Reporters probed. Hypocrisy again?
Jozef met ijs.
Growth is messy. This is mine to own. The piece trended. Pivot from villain to flawed redeemer. Donations trickled. $500 here, $1,000 there. But Alex's door stayed shut. Texts unread. Week's end, Joseph knocked anyway. Gideon leashed. Ryan answered, weary. "He's wrecked, Joe. Feels like Trust's ledger just overdrew. Can I see him?" Kitchen light spilled. Alex at the table, coffee cold. "Why now? After the wedding, the group. Why hide this?" "Fear," Joseph whispered, "of losing you again." Alex's voice cracked. "You almost did. But I get fear. Camp taught me that." Embrace followed. Bodies shaking. Gideon nosing between legs. "Help me fix it," Joseph begged. "We will," Ryan said, bridging. "Together." Healing's arc bent. Joseph's nonprofit launching with a fundraiser at the gallery. Ryan's lens capturing donors' faces. Alex emceeing. Ezekiel's shadow faded. A countersuit brewing for forgery claims. Spring budded. Cherry blossoms powdering streets. Joseph dated tentatively. A quiet librarian named Miles. Coffees turning to hikes. No rush, just presence. Alex walked him down the aisle? No yet, but at a Pride planning meet. Father and son side by side. Banners unfurling. Joseph's heart swelled. Not perfect, but present. Spring unfurled in Seattle like a long-withheld sigh. Tulips rioting in the arboretum. But Joseph's renewal carried sharper edges. Thorns of accountability pricking even as blooms opened. Harlan Bridges took root. Office a cramped Belltown loft with mismatched desks, and a rainbow flag fluttering from the fire escape. Volunteers buzzed, queer college kids coding grant apps. Elders like Eli from the wedding sharing testimonies for PSAs. Joseph dove in, sleeves rolled, cold calling donors who'd once shunned his sermons. "Remember me? The villain. Now the bridge builder." Some hung up, others pledged, moved by the pivot. Alex consulted on branding, his designs sleek. Logos of interlocking arches, evoking hands clasped over divides. Weekends meant family hikes in the Issaquah Alps, Ryan's camera slung, capturing candid frames, Joseph laughing as Gideon chased squirrels, Alex mid-leap over creeks. Bonds thickened, but undercurrents swirled. Therapy unearthed more. Joseph's bisexuality not fluid whim, but lifelong undercurrent, repressed since teen fumblings with a farmhand under harvest moons. Group delved deeper, Micah guiding shadow work exercises. Joseph's share. "I hated in others what I chained in myself." Echoes rippled. A young dad's similar closet, emerging for his trans kid. Hugs post circle raw as spring rain. Romance budded with Miles, the librarian. Salt-haired, with a dry wit and penchant for noir novels. Their first real date, a ferry to Bainbridge, wind whipping as they picnicked on deck. "Your story's in the papers," Miles said, unpacking cheese. "Brave. Or foolish." Joseph's laugh barked. Over chowder in Winslow, confessions flowed. Daniel's ghost, the ledger's quake. Miles listened, hand steady on his. Foolish would be hiding still. Kisses followed, tentative on the return ferry, salt spray mingling with possibility. Home, Joseph's bed felt less empty. Gideon snores a chorus to newfound ease. But climax brewed in summer's heat, Texas heat specifically. Ezekiel escalated, filing a defamation suit against Harlan Bridges. Harlan's lies defame faithful flock. Subpoenas landed, dredging Joseph's past. Affair rumors twisted into moral turpitude. Ledgers spun as necessary tithes. News cycled vicious. Fox clips decrying woke preachers' payback. Progressive sites hailing Joseph's stand. Protests sparked. Picket lines at the loft, counter-rallies with drag brunches. Alex's center vandalized. Windows smashed. Sinner's Spawn, scrawled in red. Crisis detonated at a town hall in California Anderson Park. Pride Month kicking off. Joseph keynote, stage under evergreens, crowd diverse. Allies in tees, activists in leather, families with strollers. We're building bridges, not walls, he began, voice amplified. But some burn them. Ezekiel crashed then, megaphone blaring from the fringe. Harlan's a wolf in sheep's wool, adulterer, embezzler. Chaos erupted, shouts drowning strings of a folk opener. Security swarmed, but not before Ezekiel hurled a dossier. Photos grainy, Joseph and Daniel vestry shadows implying more. Gasps rippled, phones flashing. Alex, on stage beside him, froze. Ryan surged forward, shielding. Joseph's world tunneled, old shame roaring. But he grabbed the mic, voice steel. Yes, I loved a man once. Hit it. Hurt others. But this. He tore a photo, ashes in his fist. Is desperation. Ezekiel, your faith thrives on fear. Mine? On love. Crowd roared approval. Ezekiel dragged off, sirens wailing. Backstage. Collapse. Alex holding him. You did it, Dad. Ryan filming the takedown for a viral clip. Fallout crested. Lawsuit dismissed for lack of evidence. Ezekiel's church splintering under scrutiny. Joseph's nonprofit surged. Grants doubling. A TEDx invite pending. But personal quake lingered. That night, alone with Miles, Gideon curled at feet. Joseph confessed the photo's truth. It was real. The affair. Miles cupped his face. And now? Real too. Lovemaking followed, gentle, affirming bodies mapping new territories, no ghosts invited. Summer solstice brought healing's peak. A retreat in the San Juans, Harlan Bridges first, cabins on Orcas Island. Joseph facilitated, circle fires crackling as youth shared, foster runaways, camp survivors. Alex and Ryan volunteered, leading art workshops. One evening, bonfire embers glowing. A teen approached Joseph. Your story. It let me tell mine. Tears traced his cheeks. That's the win. Back in Seattle, wedding anniversary neared for Alex and Ryan, 1 year. They renewed privately, lakeside, Joseph officiating at their request. Vows echoed the first, but deeper. Through scandals and storms, you anchor me. Rings exchanged, Joseph's blessing. May your love be the sermon we all need. Fall hinted, leaves goldening. Betrayal's embers cooled. Crisis forged stronger steel. Joseph's journey. Not endpoint, but ever-unfolding path. Hand in hand with son, lover, chosen kin. Fall painted Seattle in amber and rust. Harvest moons rising fat over the sound. But Joseph's harvest was inward. Reaping truths sown in pain. Harlan Bridges expanded. A second site in Tacoma serving Ladink's queer youth. Murals of Aztec motifs blending with rainbow arcs. Joseph mentored there. Tuesdays spent in circle with teens. His stories the loom weaving their tapestries. Miles wove into life seamless. Shared Sundays at used bookstores, debating Atwood over Thai takeout. Quiet nights with jazz vinyl spinning, Gideon's head in laps. You're home, Miles murmured once, post-dinner. Keys jangling as he stayed over. Joseph's reply. A kiss, deepening commitments unspoken yet solid. Alex and Ryan announced adoption pursuits. Fostering first, eyes bright on a future family. Uncle Joe, Alex teased over brunch, gotta practice grandpa duties. Laughter bubbled, but underlay serious. Joseph's will updated, legacy to the boys, the nonprofit. Group evolved, Micah retiring, a new facilitator, non-binary poet named Jordan, infusing verse into shares. Joseph's contribution. A poem, halting, on nameplates shed, hearts engraved. Applause, then Theo's arm around. Art heals, brother. Yet echoes lingered, betrayal's faint scar. Ezekiel's trial loomed, winter court dates in Dallas. Joseph flew south, Alex insisting on joining. Family sticks, Amarillo's dry wind chafed, courthouse a beige box of fluorescent lies. Ezekiel testified, voice quavering. Harlan corrupted us. His sins, adultery, graft, poisoned the well. Cross-exam shredded it. Ledgers fabricated. Photos doctored via Photoshop timestamps. Joseph's stand. Calm recitation of redemptions. Alex's hand under the table grounding. Verdict. Not guilty. Defamation countersuit awarded. Bridges funded for years. Ezekiel's fall. Church shuddered. Man slinking to obscurity. Joseph felt no triumph, only pity's quiet ache. He was me once, he told Alex on the flight home. Rocky scrolling below. Trapped. Forgive him, Alex asked. Working on it. Like you forgave me. Thanksgiving gathered kin. Carla's spread in Bellevue. Tables groaning with turkey, tamales, pie. Toasts circled gratitude's litany. Joseph's. To second acts. And the loves that script them. Winter solstice brought reflection. A solo hike in Discovery Park. Trails muddied. Evergreens sentinel. Gideon bounded. Joseph pausing at the lighthouse. Beam sweeping doubts away. Phone buzzed. Miles. Miss you. Dinner. Reply. Always. Crisis's embers fully banked. But growth's fire kindled anew. Valentine's. Miles proposed a trip. Portland's food carts. Then Oregon coast cabins. They drove. Rain sheeting. Talks turning future. Move in? Blend lives. Joseph's yes. Whispered on windswept beaches. Waves crashing approval. Spring renewal. Pride planning amped. Joseph's float a Bridges float. Youth DJs spinning anthems. Banners from pulpits to parades. Alex emceed. Ryan photographed. Miles marched beside. Hand laced. Climax's echo. A donor gala at the Waterfront Pavilion. 1 year post-wedding. Joseph keynote. Nameplate now a Bridges pin. Gleaming positive. Guests included Eli. Reconciled. The blue-streaked friend from the wedding. Toasting alliance. After dance floor called. Alex pulled him out. Ryan and Miles joining a four-way sway to This Must Be the Place. Laughter. Spins. Hearts syncopated. Summer beckoned. Adoptions progressing. A sibling pair in process for Alex and Ryan. Joseph's role. Storyteller. Passing torch. Yet deeper arc. Joseph's bisexuality embraced fully. A blog series for Bridges. Faith without frontiers. Sharing vulnerably. Responses flooded. You gave words to my silence. Fall circled back. Anniversary of the nameplate quake. They returned to the pavilion private dinner. For Joseph, Alex, Ryan, Miles. Toasts to storms weathered. Rain outside a gentle patter. Shook everyone, Alex said, clinking glasses. But rebuilt us stronger. Joseph nodded, eyes misting. Proud dad. Always. Humanity's thread. Love's not linear, but labyrinthine. Twists of pain yielding treasures of grace. Joseph's path. Ongoing, but lit by kin's light. A beacon for wanderers still. The cycle turned full in Seattle's ceaseless rhythm. Seasons blurring into a tapestry of tentative joys and quiet conquests. Joseph's life no longer a solo dirge, but a harmony woven with others. Harlan Bridges thrived. Chapters opening in Portland and Boise. Networks of support arcing like bridges over chasms, once deemed uncrossable. Joseph, now executive director in title if not ego, delegated more, empowering youth leads, his role sage advisor, voice gravelly with earned wisdom. Miles and he merged households. Joseph's queen and studio folding into Miles' Victorian in Wallingford. Bookshelves groaning under dual collections. Gideon's bed a shared throne by the fireplace. Mornings meant coffee rituals. Miles pour over precision meeting Joseph's black as night brew. Followed by commutes intertwined. Podcasts on ethics droning as they navigated I-5 snarl. Alex and Ryan's adoption crested in autumn's glow. Siblings Mia and Luca, ages 7 and 4, dark curls and wide eyes. Placed after a year of visits. Paperwork wars. Court finalization. A sunny September day in a juvenile center. Papers signed amid crayons and juice boxes. Joseph waited outside, then entered to chaos. Hugs, tears, Mia's whisper. Uncle Joe, ice cream now? Celebration sprawled. Backyard bash in Fremont, balloons bobbing, grill smoking ribs. Extended kin converged. Marlene's tattooed teens, Carla and Theo's grandkid brigade. Group alumni with potluck casseroles. Joseph chased Luca on grass, laughter rusty but real, while Alex caught his eye across the yard. Nod of profound thanks. Evenings post-kids meant date nights revived. Alex and Ryan stealing child-free hours at jazz clubs, Joseph and Miles wandering volunteer park conservatory, orchids mirroring their bloom. Intimacy deepened, boundaries blurred. Joseph exploring with Miles the facets long denied. Bodies a language of rediscovery, tender and fierce. Group sustained, Jordan's poetry circles birthing a chapbook. Unchained choruses, Joseph's piece, Nameplate nocturne anchoring. Launch reading. Packed cafe, snaps instead of claps, faces lit by candle flicker. Betrayal's final whisper. A letter from Daniel, post-trial, contrite. Watched from afar, proud of your path. No bridges burned, yours. Joseph replied once. Grateful. Forward only. Envelope sealed. Past archived. Crisis's legacy. Resilience etched. Joseph's TEDx talk. From firebrand to firekeeper. Streaming wide. Invites to panels. Universities. He spoke at one in Eugene. Rain-lashed campus. Students peppering Q&A. How do you forgive yourself? Daily, he answered. With help. Winter wrap gentle. Holidays hybrid. Hanukkah candles with Theo's kin. Christmas tree trimming with Mia's sticky hands. New Year's Eve bonfire on Alki Beach. Fireworks bursting over the sound. Spring heralded pride anew. Joseph's float leading. Youth chanting. Confetti cannons. Alex, Ryan, Mia, Luca aboard. Family portrait in motion. Miles beside. Hand in his anchor. Climax's distant rumble. A Bridges milestone gala. 5 years on. At the pavilion where it began. Guests swelled, hundreds, donors, survivors. Joseph toasted, voice steady. We shook foundations once. Now we build cathedrals of care. Dance followed, generations swirling. Luca twirling Mia. Alex dipping Ryan. Joseph swaying with Miles to Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Alex cut in, father-son frame. Love you, Dad. For the mess, the magic. Summer solstice retreat returned to Orcus. Expanded, cabins full, fireside circles larger. A teen, echoing that first, told Joseph, your nameplate? It's my permission slip. Tears, always tears, salt of healing. Fall deepened, leaves carpeting paths. Joseph's novel brood, memoirish, sermons in the storm. Query letters out, agent bites pending. Miles read drafts, edits gentle. Your heart's here, let it sing. Anniversary of the wedding circled. Second return to the pavilion, now tradition. Dinner intimate, rain a soft underscore. Toasts layered, gratitude, growth. Yet the arc's humane core. Not triumph's fanfare, but persistence's quiet hymn. Joseph's journey. Flawed, fractured, forged. Whispered that redemption's not arrival, but the road. Stumbling forward, hand extended, love the compass true. In twilight years beckoning, he glimpsed it. A life not straight-edged, but curved with grace, echoing his son's vows. Proud dad, yes, but more man remade, in the image of mercy's wild, unrelenting call. And in that, meaning profound, we all attend weddings of the soul, nameplates shaking, only to rise, embraced.